Welcome. We're glad you joined us for the last and final day of our session. We'll get started in about 2 minutes.
Welcome, everybody. We're excited for you. You're here.
Hopefully you're in a cozy location. You got a notepad next to you and you're ready to engage. Maybe a nice cold drink. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Our numbers keep enrolling. I will go over some logistics and some reminders when as we're getting started. As you are entering the room, I know there's lots of questions about when can I get these recordings? These recordings will be posted in a week or maybe a little bit more. We're going to try to get them posted within the week up to the AESD website for viewing. Clock hours are already taken care of. They will be given based on the Zoom report. We cannot provide clock hours for watching the videos. If you would like to attend the series a second time, you're encouraged to do that. You can also be part of our on-demand courses that will be launching next week. You can register today and they will be open on the 25th. That would allow you to get 6 additional clock hours, and the material is the same as we have been doing in these 3 days, but goes a little bit deeper and connects you with other people in the region, crowdsourcing resources. So we highly, highly encourage that. We will be following up today with all 3 slide decks in an email. Expect that by the end of the day, maybe 5 o'clock or so. As you know, many of us have been online all day. Just a reminder, we do have closed captioning today. You just click on the button at the bottom, click on it a second time if you want it to go away. We also have the Q&A, and we highly encourage you to only use the Q&A for questions, not for thank yous and other things, as we are trying to answer them as fast as we can, and you can imagine how many questions are coming in at once. Anything else I should bring up, Andrew, before we get rolling?
I think that was pretty good. We're just very glad that you're here today, and we're excited to have this be day 3 of Canvas and hopefully get a lot of those questions answered and get you ready to start the year.
Yes. So let me navigate over to our slide deck. So again, it's day 3. Every day we wanted to make sure that we acknowledge the land that we are on and that we are kind to our indigenous people and honoring that. Again, here are all the different people within our larger community that can help you directly. When you get this presentation, you will be able to click on it and it'll go right to their email. So know that there's many, many other people besides myself and Andrew to help you. There's several of them online today. Catherine and Amy are with us. I believe we have Amber as well, and many others that may be in the background that I can't see right now. So please know that you are not alone. There is support. As we log in for day 3, we're going to be really talking about assessment and communication and focusing on the parent and student communication and looking at the gradebook briefly. So as I said, we are going to be looking at our logistics we just went over. We'll do a short poll as an activator here in a second. Then we're going to go into quizzes. In Canvas, these are assignment quizzes or quiz assignments. We'll be looking at the gradebook, and we will be looking at the student and parent communication. So that's a lot to handle in 1 hour. So we're going to try to stay as focused as we can to make sure that we get through as much as we can to answer your questions. Take it away, Andrew.
Okay, so welcome back to day 3, or part 3 as we're calling it. We want to once again capture your information in a poll format using a Zoom poll, which I'll click launch in about 30 seconds. Now in this Zoom poll, we're going to ask, what was your exploration like adding content and organizing structure last night? Remember we said when you go home, feel free to explore, actually probably are home, but when you get onto Canvas, feel free to please explore and try adding content and organizing it the way you want using maybe modules or pages. Then we want to know what you're most excited to learn about today. Is it the quizzes and assessment? Is it gradebook? Or is it student and parent family communications? So I'm going to launch the poll. It will pop up on your screen. Please just go ahead and click and let us know what you're thinking. Okay, let's see if we beat our record. One of the things that's beneficial with technology is using the same technology back to back with students, educators as well, because they get used to it. So we just beat our record. We had over 300 responses in 30 seconds. So congratulations. Now, looking at the poll results so far, a few more people to respond, but we've already had 81%. A large minority of our group were able to dabble a little last night, and they do feel like they're getting there. We have about 5% at the rock star status, and we do have about 30% who were not able to have a chance last night, and that makes sense. Next, looking at our quiz, or our most excited to learn today, we have a pretty even split between quizzes and assessment, as well as parent and family communication. So I'm going to share those results and close the poll. There you go.
And this is a feature in Zoom. This is not a feature within Canvas. So please remember that. And there are lots of tutorials on the web on how to use polling in Zoom.
And what I would say too is my biggest recommendation if you decide to use a Zoom poll, if Zoom is your platform for synchronous video with your students, set the polls up in advance. It does take a few minutes. There's not a quick, easy copy method. So set the polls up in advance.
Yeah, and they could be the same polls every day.
Yep.
Awesome.
Back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, again, we have left this slide in on purpose because we want to ground you in instructional framework and universal design, social emotional, and culturally responsive teaching as you build out your Canvas course. So these are resources for you. Please click on the links and read up on them as much as you would like. We're going to dive into quizzes and assessments now. So I'm going to launch my Canvas instance. As a reminder, your Canvas instance may look different because that is set up by your Canvas administrator at your district level. I am in the class that we've been playing in, my Canvas sandbox. It's only called that because I named it that. And along the left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to quizzes. Now, quizzes is not turned on for my students to see in the bar on the left-hand side, but that doesn't mean that they can't access the quiz. It's just that I haven't added that as a navigation button for them. So I'm gonna go over to quizzes, and if I wanted to add it, remember I can do that in settings. So I'm gonna go to quizzes. When you first walk into the quiz window, you likely won't see any quizzes because you haven't created any yet. I went ahead and created a few last night in a couple different ways, and I'm going to walk you through the different ways that I can create them just so that something would populate in this sandbox to show you today. So as we look through here, right up here at the top is a search for quiz. As you can imagine, throughout a whole year or whole semester, you might have several quizzes that'll be in this long list. So there's a nice search feature. If you remember the title, type it in there and it'll pop up. So if I go ahead and put sandbox, you see how it started pulling it up. It's a nice little feature, especially once you get a whole bunch of quizzes in here. Over on the right-hand side, I have the green button. This is where I'm going to be able to start a quiz. I'm going to navigate back just a second so that I can show you the other features. Over here, every time you see 3 dots, and this is kind of universal, not just in Canvas, but in a lot of other places, the icon with 3 dots means more is there. So I'm going to click on that. And you can see that I have 2 options here. I have Manage Question Banks, because Canvas lets me make question banks that can be moved over and added to various quizzes in the future. So that's really nice. And then I also have my Commons favorites. Remember, Commons is only turned on at the district level. Your district may have not enabled it. It's located on the left-hand side if it is enabled, and this is where I can go and see different content teachers have made and reuse them because they've given me permission. Remember, there's different permissions they can give me. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you the question bank first, and then we'll go back into creating a quiz. So again, I'm at the 3 little dots, Manage Question Banks. So I went ahead and populated a question bank last night, so I wouldn't be doing it on the fly, but I'll walk you through how to create one. So first I wanted to just show you what it would look like. So you can have several, there would just be several different question banks. You can organize them, as you see here, I organized them by a unit. I was thinking I was a history teacher and that I might have questions by unit. If I would like to add a question bank, I'm going to click this button here. This button down here is for if I view bookmarked banks. Maybe there's a bank that I want to use all the time. I can bookmark it right here. And then when I click on this, it would be bookmarked, but I had just unbookmarked it. So let me try that again. So now I clicked on that and I bookmarked it, view bookmarked banks, and it shows up here. So those are kind of like your favorites or something that you want to use a lot of times over and over again. Okay. This pencil here, I can edit the name of the question bank. I can't edit the questions by using this. So if I click on this pencil, it just allows me to change the name. If I click off of it, it didn't do anything. If I X out, I'm going to delete this bank of questions from my question bank. So I may not want to do that. But if we're just practicing in your sandbox, you might do that. Create one and then delete it later because you don't really need it. It was just practice. Okay, back up to the add question bank. I get to give it a name. So I'm going to say question bank 2. I'm not being very creative right now. Whoops, and I didn't hit enter, so it went away. That'll happen to you. So let me do it again. Add question. Click enter on my computer, and now it has a green hyperlink. I can go into this and I can start adding questions. I can show details. So as we go, I can show details for what's in these question banks, and I'll show you that information. On the top here, I have add a question. So I'm going to add a question to the bank. I can edit the bank details. So that's the information I would write about it. I can move multiple questions from this bank to another bank or to another piece. I can delete the entire bank. You'll notice that right here, it's grayed out because I have already bookmarked it. If it wasn't already bookmarked, this would be live for me to click on and I could bookmark from here. Down here below is aligning outcomes, and we'll touch on this when we get into the gradebook, so just hold tight for that one. I'm going to navigate out of this to show you some features of the questions, and then we'll go back in to create a question from scratch. So I'm going to go back into that bank that I had created last night. I went in, and you can see that I've added a couple different questions to this bank. I only added 3 because it's just more of a, what are we doing here? If I click this box, show question details, it will show you what the question is. And in this case, it was multiple choice, so it shows me the choices. The next question, it shows me the same thing. And look here, I've got this little flag that's pointing to what I have decided is the correct answer because I made these questions. And then at the bottom here, this question is, I had them do fill in the blank. Now be careful with fill in the blank because they have to use correct spelling and punctuation. Whatever you put in here is what they need to type in correctly, otherwise they will get it incorrect. So be very careful with that portion if you want the assessment to grade that question for you. Now, as I go into these, I'm going to go in and click this little pencil. That means I could edit the question. This X here means I'm going to delete the question. Notice I can move our question to another bank is a nice hyperlink at the bottom here. I'm going to go ahead and edit it so I can show you some features inside. So this is the question. How I create a question is what I'm going to see here. So at the top, it says the question. It says question. Then I'm going to go over here and I have a lot of choices. I can do multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, fill in multiple blanks, multiple answers. So there can be more than one right answer, kind of like we did in SBAC, our yearly assessment from the state. We can do matching. We can do numeral answer, formula question, essay question, file upload question, meaning that a student would have to upload a file to answer the question, or text. Now, I can assign points over here, and I just change these to whatever I want to. In this window, just like in our assignment window and other windows that we have been able to type into throughout Canvas, we have a lot of options. We can insert media. We can also record a question right here. I could record a video, and the video is the question. So as I'm thinking about some of my struggling learners, I'm thinking about my littles, this may be very helpful to have the question be a video instead of text.
Christina, does that also just include audio? Maybe if you just want to read the text to them?
Yeah, it does. So if I click on this button, oh, I'm not seeing just audio there. Andrew, am I missing something? You're muted.
Nope, you're not.
Yep. So I would not be able to do it there, but I believe that there is another place that we can do audio. Do you remember off the top
Try
of
that
your
one
head?
right there.
Right here. And if we go into advanced,
You'll be able to embed or upload. So if you have previously recorded audio, you can always import it. So you can use any audio feature on your device and put it into Canvas.
yes, but there isn't a microphone button to just record inside of this section.
That media button used to have it where you could switch between mic and camera, but they upgraded the system.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I had done that before and now it's gone. So new things all the time in technology and in LMSs. Please do not get used to the settings staying the same. They do change from time to time as they update things. So continuing on, I wrote my question here. Below it, I have the answers. So I can go in and I can edit the answer. I can delete the answer. I have selected that this is the correct answer. I have given other possible answers. And if I click on this little box, I'm going to do that again really quick. If I click on this little box here, that allows me to give comments to students. So if they get the wrong answer, I could give them a little bit of feedback and reteaching, or if this is the correct answer, I can give them some feedback in here. Again, I have the same features that I can add into YouTube. I can add in an image, so it could be like, yay, you did it. Down here, this was an incorrect answer. I would be able to give them some feedback or send them a link to go back and re-watch or to go back and relearn the piece that they missed. This is a great way to help differentiate and to give students feedback as quickly as possible. This does not have to be added. This is an option. You do not have to include comments for correct or incorrect answers. That's why it's just highlighted. It's those little red boxes or green boxes in the questions. So I'm gonna click off done so that we can see. If I make any changes to this question, I would need to click update questions. It's not going to automatically save things that I update in this question bank. And I've learned that the hard way because I've gotten so used to Google and other online platforms that save things for me. I can cancel because I don't want to change anything here. Coming down to this one, remember, is a fill in the blank option. So let's peek deeper inside that one. I'm clicking on my pencil. And as I get in here, it says possible answer, bronze. That's what the correct answer would be. But I also have other ways to go in and say there are other possible ways. So this is where if you were really good about what your students might misspell something with, you could put in what the most common misspelled versions are of a word so that they would get it right, not be marked incorrect because of a spelling error. But that'll be a personal decision to you because this could be a spelling test.
Now we had a question. Is there a way to just go self-grade it? So if you don't want the automated grading, could there be a way for you to go in and hand grade their quiz?
No, I have not found that option right now. Can you remind me where it may have been?
I think we actually have to set a quiz up first. So let's hold that until we go do that because we're just in question banks.
Yeah, so we're not really in the quiz feature yet. And I think that that's why I was like struggling to get there. Okay, so I'm gonna get out of the question banks. Remember, I can add a question bank here. I can select on that one that we haven't added anything, and then I could add a question from scratch. These are just the questions. But I can align them to outcomes. Remember, I'm going to come back to that in the gradebook. So we're going to get out of the question bank. I'm going to come over here to the left-hand side again to reach quizzes, because now I can create a quiz. I wanted to make those questions banks beforehand so I can just pull them in and makes it a lot easier. So let me go to the button up here at the top, add quiz. And now we have all sorts of features. Notice that it's not published at the top. I have not provided the points for it at the top. Just going to walk through. This is just current information about this quiz. As always, links will always be on the side. Files will always be on the side. And images. Quizzes can have images both as questions and as answers. And it can be as simple as taking this and dragging it over to this field. So that's really nice for our non-readers. And I will just go ahead and delete that. Now, this editing tool to make things the same size and all of that, you may want to play in a different photo editing to make those, I know people were worried about making things the same size and consistency. You might want to do that outside of here and then just import the whole image to make it cleaner, but it's going to be a preference and you'll get used to it as you go. Up here at the top, I'm going to give the quiz a name. So we're going to say SEL check-in, because I can also use quizzes as a survey, and I'll get more to that as we go. Again, we have all the same options that we had in the question bank. You also, for those of you who are very tech savvy, you can do the HTML editor, and this is where you're going to be able to embed things and do all sorts of fancy stuff if you have that skill set. Going down below, I can decide what kind of quiz this is. There are more than one type. I can have it be a practice quiz. Meaning that it's not graded. It's a practice quiz. I can have it be a graded quiz. I can have it be a graded survey. And I can have it be an ungraded survey. So if I click ungraded, well, I'm going to leave it graded survey because we wanted to show that feature about self-grading. Below this, I can set it to different assignments or imported assignments, but I'm leaving it in assignments. This is where I can give a score. So students will automatically receive full credit once they take the survey. So if I changed that to graded quiz, I have different options. So I'm going to go through all the different options in a minute, but I'm going to stick with ungraded survey, go all the way through the bottom, then we'll come back up. So I have an ungraded survey. In the ungraded survey, I have options to shuffle answers. This was more important when I was in the physical classroom and students were next to each other taking a quiz. They couldn't look over and see what the answer was. Now that we are possibly in a distance learning situation, I'm not sure I'm going to worry about this at this time, but it's going to be up to you. It just means that if I'm on question 1, the answer may be B for me, and it could be C for Andrew, because it's shuffling the answers. I can select a time limit. That means that the student has to complete it within that time limit, otherwise it just turns it off. You're done. So I can select a time limit, and I have tried to keep playing with this and see if I can break it, but it doesn't seem to break. I have gone up to 300 minutes. That's a long time. But I might be more realistic with 30. So I haven't seen that there is a limit to the time frame in minutes. Andrew, you didn't see that either? Yeah,
No.
I tried. I mean, I think I've even put in like 3,000.
And really what it does is it just makes it where if that time limit does hit, the quiz shuts off for them.
Yep. So be careful with setting that because you may or may not want to, depending on your situation. I can keep submissions anonymous. This is only because I'm in a survey and it's ungraded. That would change if it was a graded assignment. I can allow multiple attempts. That means a student could take this over and over again, but remember, I've set a time limit. So you'd have multiple attempts to it within that time limit still. They don't get another 30 minutes to do it again. Right, Andrew? That's what I thought. I just wanted to be clear. Going down below here, I can let students see their quiz responses. That means they will get that feedback that we added in the questions. Remember those little green and red boxes? I can let students see the correct answers if I want to. This is an ungraded survey, so I don't think that's necessary. Only once after each attempt. So that means only once after each attempt, the student would receive the feedback. If I want to let the student see the correct answer, I can set a time that they can see the correct answer. So you could see the correct answer for maybe 30 minutes afterwards, and then I can shut it off, or no, not 30 minutes, it's days. But I could say today, I can set a time that they would see the answers, and then I can hide the answers, say the same day by 10 o'clock, giving them 2 hours to view the correct answers. That's just going to be a choice on your own, but I'm not going to leave that going. I can allow it to, or ask it to only show one question at a time so that a student isn't scrolling through this long survey, that they're just seeing one question, they respond, then they see the next question. I can require an access code if I'm concerned about other people accessing it. So if I click require an access code, I get to set the password, and therefore I need to give that to my students some way. I can filter an IP address. Now this is a very technical term. Basically it means what is the internet unlisted phone number. An IP address is something that most people don't see. that they're allowed to take that. I would not check this for distance learning. I would only check this if I was in a physical school building and everybody was going to have the same IP address because it's our school building IP address. That would prevent them from taking the quiz at home. Coming down here, so if I click that, then I have to put in my IP address and see this is my IP address for my house. It auto-populated that. So if you clicked this and you were doing distance learning, they would not be able to access it because they are not on your internet at your house. Down here, this is where I can assign. And although we can't go into sections in a lot of detail today, this is where I can assign to different sections. Remember, sections are like periods, and it's only part of the enterprise package. It's not part of the free Canvas, so you need to be aware of that. I could assign to everyone. I could assign to the whole class. I could assign to the whole class and period 3. So I could go through and keep adding, or I could assign it to just a specific student or several students. So I'm going to go ahead and just assign it to a couple students there so you can see that. Back off. I can give a due date for when it's due. Remember, I set a time, so I'm going to have to think about that. And I'm can make it appear and disappear. So available to fill out, available from a date and a time until a date and a time if I fill this out. Now I've given this to these 2 students, but I also want to give the same quiz to another group of students, but I'm going to give them a different due date and different information. That's where I can come down to add. And I could say, oh, you know what? I also want to give this to Catherine, but she's going to be on vacation and I'm going to give her an extended time period. So I'm going to make it due for her on the 28th. And up here, I made it due for everybody on the 21st. That's how I can set due dates for different groups. That works in assignments as well and is really nice for us to be able to send things out with different information. I have buttons at the bottom here. I could notify students if the quiz changes. I'm not sure I want to do that. I can cancel right now. I can save and publish. Remember, publish means students can see it. That means they're going to be able to start working on it if I haven't changed the available portion from. If I wanted to publish it and not make it available until a later date, I could do that. Or I can just click save. So I'm going to click save. Again, you always have to click save. And it says, not all sections will be assigned this item. Because I haven't assigned it to section 2 and period 3, I was sending this to different student groups. It's just a warning to remind you that, hey, you didn't give that to the whole class. I'm going to say, okay, continue. Or I had the button to go back. Now it says only teachers can see this quiz until it's published. If there's another teacher in my course, they could see this, but students can't because I haven't published it yet, nor have parents, and we'll get into parent access later. You can see up at the top, I have the publish button. I have a preview button that will open it back up so I can see what would happen as a student. So I could submit the quiz here. Now, of course, I haven't turned that on yet, so that's just what's going on. Go back. I have an edit button, so I'm looking at this quiz because I'm scrolling down and I'm like, I made a mistake. Okay, I'm going to click the edit button. Remember the 3 dots? OS means more. So if I click this, I can lock this survey. That means stop it. Nobody can enter it. Nobody can change anything. I could delete it. I could send this to another teacher. I could send this. So if I click send to, I have to type in who I want to send this to. So I'm going to send this to Catherine, and she would receive this. Going back up here, I can copy to. So this is, I'm teaching 4 different Canvas courses. They aren't broken into sections. And so I just wanted to copy this into the next course. I can copy it into the next course. However, if I edit in this window, it will not change the copy that I sent. They are not linked. Like you can't update one and the other will feel it. And then I can share this to comments. If I thought this was a great quiz and I wanted other teachers to have it, I could put it in the comments and I would have the choice to give it a different license. Again, that is a district enabled choice. I also have preview up at the bottom. You'll notice that if I scroll down, it'll tell me if I had set an available date and an until date as well. I'm gonna pause for just a minute and see what the questions are that are rolling in.
Christina, I've been seeing several questions about adding applications that are integrated with Canvas. How do you add those to the options you can choose from? Is there any way you can demonstrate that at all?
I'm not sure if that's part of the quizzes right now that I would want to dig into at this moment due to time.
Okay.
And also I can help with that. A lot of those apps really are your Canvas administrator's responsibility, and you do not have the option to add them in.
Yeah, so we don't really want to go into something that you couldn't do on your own, because then you might feel really frustrated. Are there any quiz specific questions at this time? All right, so I'm going to go through and show you a quiz that I got from the comments, because I want to come over here and show you. So I went into Manage Question Bank, and then I have Commons Favorites, and I was able to add it over here. This is a quiz, because remember, we just went through a survey, so I wanted to show you some of the other quiz features. So I'm going to go into this quiz that I've created. Actually, I borrowed it. I'm going to go into Edit. Now look at this over here before I go into Edit. On the right-hand side, I have Moderate this quiz. So if I click on that button, it is going to let me see how many attempts, because I gave them more than one attempt, how much time, what the score was. And then I can come over to this little pencil and I can extra time on every attempt. I can add more time for that student to give them an accommodation. It's kind of like giving them an extension on their homework. All right, so I'm gonna go back. I also have Speedgrader, and we're going to talk about how this helps you just grade everything really quick and easy within Canvas as we get to the gradebook. Okay, so we're going to go in and edit this so that I can show you some features. Again, this is a graded quiz. This allows me to have shuffled and time limits just like before, allow multiple attempts. What score do I want to keep? If the students can take it more than once, which score goes into the gradebook? I have to decide highest, latest, or average. And that's going to be a building level, grade level team discussion that you need to have so that it's consistent across your grade band or subject area. I can select allow attempts, and I can set how many attempts. So I can say you get 2 tries or you get 3 tries. If I don't check that, I believe they have unlimited attempts as long as it's open. Let students see their quiz responses. So that's that incorrect feedback or the feedback for correct. Show one question at a time. I can lock questions after they answer it so that they couldn't go back. So if question 1 helped answer question, or question 2 helped answer question 1, they couldn't go back and put the information in. I again can require an access code. I can filter by IP address, remember, not in remote learning. And then I have all the assigned to features that we had before. I'm going to come out of this one because we're going to go into an unnamed one that I'm going to build. So in this case, this is a graded quiz. And in a graded quiz, not a survey, because we had just looked at a graded survey, a non-graded survey, this is a graded quiz. So then I can do the same things. I can shuffle the answers. I can set a time limit. I can look at the multiple attempts and select that. I can let the students see the feedback. I can let them see the correct answer. I can limit them to seeing the incorrect feedback only once after each attempt. I can then show the correct and hide the answers like we talked about, show one question at a time. All of these buttons are the same. Now, what if I change this to an ungraded or practice quiz? Now I've lost a little bit of the features because I'm not putting this into a gradebook. Same kind of stuff though. So as you're playing in the sandbox tonight, I really encourage you to play around with what are those features that I am interested in exploring more, and what are some features that I'm going to talk to my grade level team about and make sure we're all on the same page, or my building about, because we really think it's nice to have consistency across. I have not addressed this little tab over here. This is the questions for this quiz. So I'm going to go into the questions. And this is where I can add a question directly in here. So if I click on this button, that just lets me add my question right away.
Christina, can you do me a favor?
Yep.
Right where it's, see the little green arrow, can you just click to show how to change which one the correct answer is? Thank you.
Yeah, so I can go over there and I can just move it around.
Yep. So it's not always the first one. You can click and move it where you feel it needs to go. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Now I can create a new group of questions, or I can find questions. And when I find questions, it's going to open up my question banks that I have available for me. And I could literally just pick by selecting with a check mark which ones I want to bring over. And click add questions. I don't have to bring over all three. I could bring over one. Add questions. And now those questions are part of this quiz. Notice it has already get the points, says 2 now because questions down here were each assigned 1 point. I can still go in and edit with a pencil, and then I can delete these questions if I moved it over by accident, which it's gonna happen. I'm gonna select the wrong box sometime. Up in these 3 dots here, I have the ability to delete this whole quiz. So as we're playing in our sandbox, we're all gonna be making a whole bunch of quizzes that we may not wanna keep because we are just playing around with the buttons. So know that you can delete it. It's fine, all is good. I'm gonna go back to my question window. And over here is where we've talked about a couple times, but I wanna remind you that you can publish or unpublish your quizzes and your surveys from this button just by checking the green. The 3 lines on the side here, or the 3 dots, sorry, let me edit that quiz right away, delete it, send it to someone else, copy it to another class, or add it to the Commons. You'll also note that you cannot drag and drop in this window like you could in modules. I don't have the icon there to do that. So just a side note that if you're feeling like you should be able to because it looks the same, it's not a feature within the quiz window. Okay, now in my modules, I can add these quizzes. So I can go over to the plus button and I have assignments here. I have imported assignments. I have new. If I click up here to quiz, it's going to show me the quizzes that I have already created and published. So you don't see all the ones that have unnamed quiz because I didn't publish any of those. I only have these 2 published. If I wanted to, I could click new quiz here, give it a title, and then I'd have to double click on it to be able to edit it and build it out. So let me go ahead and just add my quiz by clicking on add. I can indent it or not. That's just how does it look on the module page. Add item. And now it has appeared here. That's where I can drag and drop things around in the module view that I couldn't do in the quiz view. I could change the indentation. When I click over on these three, I can increase the indentation. I also have a move up or down move button, but I like to just drag and drop. Or I could remove this from the module. I'm not deleting the quiz, I'm just removing it from the module page. As OS, I could, oops, and I have not set my home page. I can go back and set my home page. I could also just add a button that was quizzes, and it would directly take students to quizzes. Again, these are just images that somebody has created or found on the internet and added in here, and they have hyperlinked it to the space inside Canvas so that students aren't having to know where to click the buttons. It's just a simpler way, but it's really a personal choice. I'm going to go back to this view because I like this view better right now. Okay, we need to look inside quizzes really quick. Go into my quiz here. And these three dots of the quizzes I didn't go into detail with yet, so let me get these going. I can show a rubric. So I can add a rubric to this quiz to help with the grading. I can preview the quiz from here. I can lock this quiz. I can show student quiz results. So if I click on here, you notice I have 0 students, so there's not going to show me anything, but it would have shown me here. I can message students who, let's click on that button. Students who have taken the quiz, students who have not taken the quiz. So this is not the area where I can message students if they are a grade below a certain percent. This is just who took it or who didn't take it yet. Continuing down here, I still have the delete button, the send to, the copy to, and the share to commons. You will not see share to commons if you do not have that enabled. So I'm going to go into show rubric, and this is where I can add a rubric. It comes up with this little window here for adding a rubric. I can move things around, so when I see edit, always when I see a pencil, that means I can edit the description and I can make a long description. I'm editing the description of the criterion. I can come over here and I can edit the rating score. I can give it a rating title. So this could be benchmark, making progress, whatever you need it to say. I can come over to this portion here of how many points. Same thing, because this is just 5 and 1. If I want to make a 4-point rubric, it's going to give me benchmark. Sorry. And I could keep adding. I know that 1-point rubrics are really popular right now, so I can go ahead and click delete, and I could just have a 1-point over here as an option. I can add criterion. I can find outcomes. So if I find outcomes, my district has to have already uploaded outcomes and enabled it to my Canvas installation. So I have uploaded some last night, and I'm going to say this is awesome outcome. And there's already some here. It already has decided the 1, 2, 3, 4 mastery level piece. This is if I was doing standards-based grading. And I'm going to import. And so that imported that criterion or outcome into my rubric. I'll write free form comments when assessing students is a choice. Remove points from the rubric. So it's not going to have points as an option. It's just going to be feedback. Don't post outcome results in the Learning Mastery Gradebook. That's the standards-based gradebook that has to be enabled by your district for you to be able to access. And we will look at that in just a few minutes. Hide score total from the assessment results. This means in the assessment results of the gradebook, I can hide the score total. And then I'm going to create my rubric. Up here at the top, I can find a rubric too. So if I've created rubrics before, I can reuse the same rubric over and over again. And I would highly recommend that as grade level band, content band, you share rubrics between each other. And if you use the same one often, students will become very, very familiar with it and understand the outcomes better. Create rubric. Show rubric, there it is. So this assignment has it, well, it's a quiz. That's why we call them quiz assignments, has a rubric attached to it. So now when I come over here to the Speedgrader, because I don't want to have to open up each kid's account, look through it all, I want to just be able to grade very simply, like my stack of papers back in the old days. I'm going to click on Speedgrader, and it automatically pops me into this window. Had students responded, I would start seeing their responses right here in this window. I can see that Andrew has been, it landed on Andrew because it's alphabetical order, but we can change that by coming over to this little arrow. I can look at this by section. So my whole course, section 2 or section 3. Remember, sections are like periods. I can go in and look and see who has completed it. I can give it a grade right here. I can view the rubric because I attached a rubric. So that gives me, and then let me move this little box over so you can move it so you can see this more information. All I have to do is click on these boxes to score it if I've added a rubric. I can come down here below and I have assignment comments. This is only going to Andrew because Andrew is who I'm grading right now. It is not going to anybody else. In my comments, I can also click on a video, and that's where I could record comments for my non-reading students, or just because I wanted to personalize it more. I can record audio directly inside grading. So within the grading world, there is a way to just give audio feedback. So I can click on speech recognition, and then I can click record, and it's recording everything that I'm saying. So it's speech to text, and it types it in there. So I was incorrect. That was not audio feed. It was speech to text. That has changed in an update. So speech to text just means that as a teacher, I can just say it instead of typing, and my fingers are getting tired because I've been grading for hours. I can add an attachment. So if I wanted to add more learning or next steps for a student that are in a file, I could do that. I can download submissions and comments. So if I click download submissions and comments, it's going to make a PDF file, and it popped me out of the window, and it would have a lot of information here had anybody taken this quiz. And then I click submit. And I go over to this arrow, and I can start grading the next student, the next student. I can then pop over here, and I'm going to go back to my grade book. If I pop over here, post or hide grades. If I pop here, I have settings. I have options, keyboard shortcuts. For those of you that are keyboard wizards, you will want to check out those keyboard shortcuts. And then there's a help menu here. There is so many resources and so much complexity within Canvas that I use the help menu a ton. And then I have the assignment here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop us into the gradebook. And when I pop into the gradebook, I'm going to show you all the buttons and the Gradebook. But I need to give you a caveat. Your district may have already decided what this looks like. Your district may have already set it up for you. So while I'm able to demo the features of it, I'm not able to demo exactly what yours looks like or give you the ability to change yours because your district may have locked it so that it stays consistent. There is some integration with school information systems such as Power School or Skyward, but that is at a district IT level and actually has to be done by a Canvas rep and your district together. So it's not a really fast, easy thing to do. You will need to check with your district on what their policies are about Gradebook. You'll see on this view right here, I have all of the student names are coming down. On the side, I have graded Andrew's quiz now, so it shows that he's graded. Underneath there, I have a line. If I click on this line, I could actually put in a grade here. So if I was grading some papers, say, and they weren't a digital, I could manually enter grades here. I can pop this little arrow here is going to pop in different information. Grade out of 20. Do I want to say that this is late? So now it color codes it and it's like, 3 days late. We'll pretend. And I can leave a comment for a student. I can also go up to this one, pop that window out again, and I can excuse this. It will come up there. If I went into the next student and I said it's missing, it's going to show up there. Depending on the settings of your gradebook, it may default to a 0 if you mark missing. If you mark excused, it may not.
Now, Christina, I took that quiz and I noticed I only got a 6, but I think that's incorrect. Can you edit my score?
I can, right there. So if I just click on it, I could make a correction if I had made an error.
Perfect. So we had that question earlier and now it's answered. So yes, you can edit scores for all your students.
Okay, coming along here, I noticed that I haven't published these assignments yet, so I'm still going to have some options here, but the students wouldn't have had an opportunity. That's why it's grayed out. So if I click these options here, I can see it reminds me, it's unpublished, it's ungraded. You really can't do much. So all these features are grayed out, even though that box is there. I can scroll over. I'm going to see assignments as one of my categories. I'm going to see sandbox quiz. And I'm going to see imported assignments and then total. Notice as I'm hovering over, I'm getting those 3 dots. Those 3 dots again says there's something more there. I can go here and sort by grades, lowest to highest, highest to lowest, display as a percent, move to the front. So if I don't want this total score to be, I don't want to have to scroll all the way over, I can make it the first thing I see. If I go over to the next one, I have sort by. So there were more features in the total than there were in the other categories. If I was to go onto this sandbox quiz, that's a specific quiz, I can sort this column by grade, highest to lowest, missing, late. I can message students who, and this is where submitted or haven't submitted, scored less than or score higher than. So I might want to send out a message to students who scored less than 70% and offer them a retake or ask them to come in and complete something, whatever it is. And I'm going to send this as an email. This is a private email between each student, even if you're looking at multiple students. So other students will not know who received this email besides themselves. Okay, that's just the boxes, but come up in here at the top, I have some more features to look at. So if I select Gradebook, I can go in and this is where I can grab that Learning Mastery Gradebook. This will not show up for you if your district hasn't enabled this in the settings. I can look at an individual view. Maybe I'm having a parent-teacher conference with a student and I don't want to have to play the game of like covering up the screen. I can go individual view. And in individual view, I can look at it by sections. I can look at it by alphabetically or due date. I can treat ungraded as a 0, hide student names, show concluded enrollment, some people that finished the course, show notes and student info, download this, upload scores, lots of different options. Going back to the gradebook, I can go into Gradebook History. And in Gradebook History, these are all filters at the top. So I could filter by a student. I could filter by a grader. This is if I have provided a TA that may be grading something. I can do it by an assignment, a due date, or start date, end date, and then filter. So if I'm going to do it by a student, I'm going to go ahead and click Andrew, because I've been picking on him today. I click filter, and now I see that this is the history of Andrew. He had a score of 0 on the sandbox quiz because he hasn't taken it. He had a score of 6 on the quiz. Now it says before, after, and current. That's because before he didn't take it. There wasn't a multiple attempts or anything like that. So that's a nice feature for being able to walk a parent through things or just a student through things. I'm gonna go back to my grades. Again, I'm using that navigation tool on the left. It's really easy. Under view, I have some options. I can arrange this by default order, assignment name alphabetically, reversed alphabetically assignment name, due date, oldest to newest, newest to oldest, points, lowest to highest, highest to lowest, module, start at the beginning, go all the way down, or start at the bottom and go all the way up. It's up to me how I want to look at this. I can filter this by assignment groups. I can filter this by modules, sections, and student groups. And I'm looking at our clock. Are we done already? Oh my goodness. Nobody stopped me. I apologize. I hope we didn't leave you hanging too much, but I do want to point out something for you. In your deck, I have put all sorts of hyperlinks for you. So access day 3's deck, and there are lots and lots and lots of resources for you to answer the parent piece that I didn't get to. I apologize. I wasn't even looking at the clock. Andrew, do you want to close this out now that I'm red in the face?
Sure. So what we would like you to do is we have posted a reflection survey for the synthesize and apply into the chat. Catherine has just posted that for us. What we also encourage, don't forget, is on the AESD website, there is the opportunity to take the on-demand learning. The on-demand learning breaks all of this information up into chunks, and it does go through everything. So we highly recommend taking the on-demand learning for Canvas, and you can take that at your own speed. You can pause, rewind videos, as well as it gives you guiding questions. So please feel free to do that. The link is also in the slide deck that was shared, and we hope that you can attend. You would get additional 6 clock hours for taking the on-demand. So thank you all for being here today, and we hope that gives you a jump start, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.